Hi, welcome to the channel. Have you ever been angry, frustrated, or disappointed in someone for some reason? Well, that's usually because they didn't live up to your expectations. What are expectations? Let's talk about it. Okay, definition of expectations: a strong belief that something will happen or be the case in the future. It's also a belief that someone will or should achieve something. Behaviors that you expect from yourself are what we call personal standards. Behaviors that you expect from others are what we call expectations. Like personal standards, expectations are used to make decisions in your life. Personal standards hold yourself accountable. Expectations hold other people accountable. Now, like personal standards, you can have expectations in all areas of your life: physical, financial, emotional, spiritual, any area of your life. In a relationship, you might want to define your expectations in the 7 pillars of a relationship and trust. So that means define your expectations and accountability. What are your expectations in communication? What are your expectations of someone's character? What are your expectations in love? What are your expectations in maturity? What are your expectations in team dynamics? What's your expectations in vulnerability? And what are your expectations in trust? The advantages of having expectations is that with expectations, you know what you're getting into. With expectations, you also know what you're not getting into. Expectations usually define your next steps in that relationship. Either you're going to accept it or reject it or negotiate. Now, the disadvantages of having expectations is that, like personal standards, you can set the bar for expectations just a little bit too high. The bar is so high that it leads to perfectionism. So you're looking for perfection. And unfortunately, that's unrealistic because no one is perfect, not even you. With the bar set so high, you're going to expect something that more than likely not even you can provide. So perhaps you think you feel like you can date a celebrity, however, you're not a celebrity. Or you want to date somebody who's like got a ton of muscles and everything, but you don't know what the inside of a gym looks like. So when you have expectations that are very high, this is how you're going to end up being easily disappointed. What happens when your expectations are too low? Well, when your expectations are too low, it leads to you being impressed very easily. So maybe they have a job and you're like, oh, wow. Maybe they have their own place and you're like, oh, wow. Well, when you have low expectations, that leads to confusion because you're impressed easily and you just want someone. So chances are that someone is going to come with a lot of red flags. Maybe they don't have a job. Maybe they lie. Maybe they cheat. Maybe they steal. Maybe they have no goals. Maybe they have no dreams. But because you're impressed so easily, you're willing to take that low-hanging fruit. Just simply say, hey, I have this low-hanging fruit. Even though it may be partially rotten, I still have this fruit. When expectations aren't met, whether the bar is too high or the bar is too low, there's going to end up being disappointment, anger, frustration, and resentment. That you can't be afraid to revise your expectations. Like you can revise your personal standards. And you revise them based on new information that's presented to you as you go through this thing called life. Like personal standards, it's important to communicate your expectations early in the relationship so that the two of you aren't wasting time. So if your expectation is that they hold a job, then it's important for you to find out whether or not they actually have a job or if they're capable of keeping a job, because they may simply say, yes, I have a job this week. Next week, I won't have one. The week after that, I may have one. Then I may lose it 2 months later. So if your expectation is someone to have a steady job, bringing in a steady paycheck, you need to communicate this early. Expectations are an important part of relationships because they help to define who you allow in your circle. It's important not to set your expectations too high or set your expectations too low because they either screen out everybody or they allow in everybody. You can't be afraid to revise your expectations in response to new information provided by life experiences. Now, some people would say the best type of relationship is a relationship where you have no expectations. I have to kind of disagree with that, because even in a relationship where there are no expectations, guess what? There's still expectations, because you're not expecting that person to harm you or hurt you. You're not expecting that person to fall down in a major way in the pillars of a relationship. So you may say there's no expectation in this relationship. However, if one of the pillars is kind of fractured or broken, then there's gonna be some type of anger, frustration, disappointment, and resentment, because there is an expectation, even when they say there shouldn't be any. Well, that's it for this video. Like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.
Tell me pretty lies, look me in the face, tell me that you love me.